Fox Sports.
We are the Fourth. We are Florida.
So on we go to the bottom of the 10th. Bunt from Sierra down the first base line, and Sierra is aboard. Gets that one down. Keyboom gets in the way of Rojas.
Watch Rojas. He's trying to run down the line. You can even see him throw his hands up in the air right about there, halfway down.
And I believe that Rojas is going to get first base awarded to him. Looped into right field. That one's going to fall in. Sierra being held at third. And they are loaded for JT Realmuto. Right field. Taylor a long run. And that one is going to fall in for a base hit. JT Realmuto with a walk-off. And for the 7th time this year, the Marlins with a walk-off winner. On a Sunday afternoon in Miami, the Nationals and Marlins wrap up their 4-game series. Miami looking to get a split of this 4-game set to keep playing well at home. With that, we say hi again, everybody, and welcome inside the broadcast booth. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth. Well, they have done it again. 7th heaven, 7 times a walk-off winner.
7 of 25 this year. I'll tell you, if you want exciting baseball, head out to Marlins Park. You got a 1 in 4 chance, actually even better, of getting a walk-off win. Well, listen, they played to what they do best last night. Pitch a little, get a good bullpen performance, low-scoring ball game, and find a way to win.
Yeah, we could talk about JT Realmuto, and frankly, we do, just about every single day and how great he has been. But you add another layer to the story last night with the walk-off. Father for the first time, an all-star for the first time, a walk-off last night. This has been a great 2018.
Yeah, it really has. You see the season numbers on the left side, and again, you think back to his game plan that last at bat with the bases loaded, understood there was only 2 outfielders, what he was trying to do right there, stay inside the baseball, able to drop one in down that right field line and pick up the game winner. JT is, well, he's one of the captains on this team, both in the clubhouse and on the field, and boy, oh boy, is he having an all-star season.
Absolutely. And now, one way to look at it would be that JT Realmuto has more wins at home than Jose Urania. Right. He's looking for his first W here.
Well, and listen, you know what? He's got to find that slider. His last couple of starts have been rough, but the one thing that really has been missing is his slider. He's been a 2-pitch guy, only the fastball and the changeup. Now, he's got good stuff, but he's got to find a way to get that going again today. He's got so many lefties to deal with in the Nats lineup that it's ultimately a big pitch in his arsenal.
So 0-8, and it has been a while since his last home win. On the other side, it's Jeremy Hellickson. The Marlins have seen Hellickson before. In fact, in Washington last go-around. Didn't last long, may have been a little under the weather that day.
Well, Hellickson, yeah, he hasn't. He's had a really nice season, although they use him a little bit differently than traditional starters. He doesn't go very long. But here's the kicker. His worst start of the season has come against the Marlins. The Marlins got good vibes against Hellickson. Last time they saw him, they knocked him around in D.C.
All right, we shall see how this all plays out today. The last of 4 trying to get a split with the Nationals. Hellickson, Urania, Nats, Marlins. Coming up after the break. Baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By WB Mason. Who but WB Mason, the official office supply company of the Miami Marlins. By Chevrolet. See your South Florida dealer today. And by your local Toyota dealer, Toyota. Let's go places. Marlins trying to wrap up the homestand against the Nats with a win. We step aside. First pitch on the other side of the break. A Sunday afternoon in Miami, the Nationals and the Marlins to wrap up the homestand before Miami takes to the road to Atlanta. First, some unfinished business against Washington. Here is a look at their starting lineup. Adam Eaton in the top spot. Trey Turner, who has had 3 multi-hit games in this series, hitting .352 this year against the Marlins, hits second. And Bryce Harper, well, we heard the good with Turner, the bad with Harper. He struck out in 15 straight games, longest of his career. All up against Jose Urena today, his 21st start to lead all Marlins starters. Toes the slab again, looking for his first home win in 2018.
Well, there's a couple of things that you could apply to today's start. Obviously, Jose Urena wants to pitch a little bit better than he has of late. He's not lasted 6 innings in any of his last 5 starts. But on top of that, he's only getting 2.72 runs of support over 9 innings. That's last among opening day starters in 2018. So maybe a little bit more offense, a little bit better Jose, and you turn it into a win in a series split. Solid numbers across the season. The 4.63 ERA obviously has gone up a little bit. Be careful the lefties. 272 batting average against. 8 of the 12 home runs have come from the lefties. And oh, by the way, 10 have come at Marlins Park. 10 of those 12. Let's go ahead and get you the Marlins defensively behind Urena for this afternoon's ball game. Dietrich Sierra getting the start. Great bunt last night. Got that 10th inning going. Anderson over and right. That's his 28th consecutive start in right field. Prado, Riddle, Rojas and Bohr. JT behind the plate with Urena on the mound.
We've talked so much about how winning series is such an important part of kind of keeping things moving during a baseball season. Marlins clearly cannot win this one, having dropped the first 2, but would love to get out of here with a split against a team that has certainly been a bit of a pain in the neck the last couple of seasons. Adam Eaton fouls the first pitch back. 0-1. This year he's hitting .312, a terrific on-base percentage, well above 400. And put quickly. Urania ahead, 0-2. Eaton got a pinch hit opportunity last night. Flew out, but he has reached base safely in 10 of his last 20 plate appearances, helping out that on-base percentage quite a bit. As he fights off another on 0-2. But also point out that he hasn't struck out in any of those 20 plate appearances. So terrific bat-to-ball skills. On a hop to third. Prado makes the play, and there is one away here in the first.
Well, good start for Jose Urania. We talk about ground balls all the time. When he's at his best, you'll see about 8 to 10 outs on the ground per ball game. Well, here at Marlins Park, 4.65 ERA. For his last few starts, he's basically survived without that slider. Of course, we haven't seen it yet. Eaton just leading off the ball game. Four-seam fastball, change and slider. That's the arsenal. Does throw hard, 96, 97 miles an hour.
Trey Turner, 7 for 17 in this series, 17 for 50 this year against the Marlins. As I mentioned, I was given the lineups. 3 games this series so far, 3 multi-hit games for Turner. And all of those hits for Trey add up to 110, which is tied for second among National League shortstops. And fourth among all shortstops in baseball as he takes inside 3-1. He went around, and it's a full count. Home plate umpire today is Mike Machlinski. I got through 3 games. Mike Machlinski. All good, all good. Get it on the 4th
Sunday
day.
morning. Come on.
That's true. I do have a fresh cup of coffee right next to me. I'll figure it out. Strikeout of Turner, and there are 2 away.
Yeah, pretty good look here at Urania and what he can do to hitters. 97 miles an hour, both on the 3-1 pitch and the 3-2 pitch. This one down. Turner expanding his strike zone. You see him shaking his head. Out number 2 here in the first.
The crew chief Angel Hernandez at first, Chris Siegel at second, Tim Timmons over at third. Much easier on speech patterns for Mr. Severino today. It's Bryce Harper fouls that one away, 0-1.
Mr. 305 over here.
Yeah, right. A very poor man's Mr. 305.
Well, Bryce Harper steps in. He struck out in the first at bat of all 3 games of this series so far. Finds himself down in the count, 0-2.
Yep, 15 straight games with a strikeout, the longest stretch of his career. This one line foul down the right field line. Angel Hernandez on top of that one. Didn't miss extra bases by much. Marlins won on a walk-off last night, thanks to JT Realmuto, and a very interesting comment after the game from Mr. Bryce Harper. He said, if he were on our side, that wouldn't have happened. Needless to say, that got some attention in the DC metro area. Off the end of the bat, circling it is Riddle, gets rid of it. It'll be an infield single for Bryce Harper.
Now here's the hit against the shift. That pitch away. Harper goes with it. He's had a few hits the other way in the series. I got 4 going the other way in the series. This is merely putting the bat on the ball and essentially beating it out. Marlins unable to defend it. Really the only one on the left side of the infield. So a runner here. 2 outs in the first.
Matt Adams takes low and away. Yeah, about that quote, not the first time that Harper has at least joked. That one perhaps a little bit more serious, but at the All-Star game, they're nationally getting ready for the team picture, and Bryce Harper is standing behind JT Realmuto. He takes his Nationals hat off and puts it on JT. I think some folks got to laugh at that, and then 2 weeks later, JT's the hero, and Harper says what he says. Adams in the air to left field. Coming in is Dietrich. And Urania works around the 2-out infield single. We go to the bottom of the first at Marlins Park. Welcome back. Bottom of the first inning. Nationals scoreless in their half, and now the Marlins go to the bat racks against Jeremy Hellickson. Derek Dietrich will lead things off. Got yesterday off, at least not in the starting lineup yesterday. Brian Anderson back in there. Has been such a pillar of this offense throughout the season, and the same can certainly be said for JT Realmuto, who had the walk-off hit in the 10th inning last night. And that is the starting line 9 today against Jeremy Hellickson.
Now the Nats have won 8 of his last 11 starts, 3.44 ERA on the season, 68 innings. He's pitched pretty well for him. Quality starts in only 2 of 14. He's allowed 3 earned runs or less in 13 of 14, and we'll get to that in a second. He's coming off a pretty decent last start against the Brewers. 5 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs. Got a no decision. He's pitched pretty well on the road to a 2.83 ERA. Certainly does not mind day games either. 156 afternoon starts.
And look in the media guide. Maybe he's a morning person. Well, there's just about everything else in these things these days.
He's on his game during the day. He has been this season.
Dietrich 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter last night. 1 for 12 on the homestand with the Braves in town for 2 prior to this 4-game set against the Nats. StatCast AI powered by AWS, the distribution of balls in play on the ground in the infield off the bat of Derek Dietrich. See why Turner and Murphy swung around the first base side. Here's the 1-2 pitch from Dietrich. This one popped up on the infield to Reynolds. 1 away.
Go ahead and get you the AutoNation scouting report. Short and sweet, he's gone less than 6 innings of 12 of 14 starts this season, and he's not gone over 100 pitches yet. That's because he's, at times throughout his career, struggled that third time through. So they managed that rather carefully. Now, bad memories. Marlins handed him the worst start of his 2018 season. Happened in D.C. earlier this month. 4 innings, 9 hits, 9 runs, 8 earned, a couple of home runs. He does have a vast arsenal. You'll see it certainly on display this afternoon in that low zone. 4-seam fastball, sinker, change, curve, and cutter, and he uses them all. Uses his changeup more to the right-handed hitters than to the lefties, and his curveball more than the changeup to the left-handed hitter. So he's a little different.
Anderson with a poke out toward right center field. That'll be a base hit. 1 out knock for BA.
Here are the Nats defensively for this afternoon's ball game. Soto, Harper, Eaton, that's their outfield. Reynolds getting the start once again over at third base. Turner at short, Murphy in at second, Adams over at first. Eboom behind the plate for Hellickson. Some very interesting numbers when it comes to Hellickson. I just, you can't even get past it. When you look at, that quality start, we certainly mentioned it, and it's kind of a gauge of how long a guy will go. Of course, the minimum being 6 innings and 3 earned runs or less. And I think we kind of laugh at times at the 4.5 ERA and say, is that really a quality start? Well, the point I look into it is because how long, how many starters are going the 6 innings or the required number of innings in order to go a little bit deeper into a ball game. And on top of that, are they pitching, well, at least somewhat decently enough to rack up quality starts? Of course, he's only got 2 of 14. We showed you he's got a 3.44 ERA.
Real Muto with a fly ball out to right center, and Eaton is there for out number 2. Yeah, that's the thing when you try to kind of unpack his season.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely bizarre. And we certainly mentioned the game the Marlins had against him earlier this month, where, I mean, that's really the only bad start he's had this month, where he gave up the 8 earned runs. 13 of his 14 starts, he's given up 3 earned runs or less. I mean, just the one game. But of course, only 2 quality starts because he doesn't go long into ball games any longer. So, you look at his numbers and you look how he's been, quote unquote, managed, if you will, this season. They believe they found a way to use him, which is 2 times through the lineup, really manage that 3rd time through with the idea that you're probably going to go to the bullpen early.
Moore takes a called strike. Moore got yesterday completely off, 2 for 13 on the homestand. Does have a home run, 3 RBIs. Lifted out to center field. Bryce Harper in a few steps will make the catch. And both starters leave a runner in the 1st inning. Scoreless.
Let's jump into a summer of savings with the Marlins Flex 4-pack. You can customize a plan to save on individual game pricing and lock in priority access to giveaways. Starting at just $20, you can get the Flex 4-pack by visiting marlins.com/flex4 today.
Juan Soto to lead it off for the Nationals, and then Daniel Murphy and Mark Reynolds against Jose Urena, who misses a little inside to the youngster Soto. 6 for 12, 2 homers, 4 RBIs in the series. He takes a strike, and 13 for 38 with 2 homers, 9 RBIs this year against the Miami Marlins.
I think it's fair to say, and I think people around the National League are saying the same thing when it comes to Soto. He's basically been hot since getting here.
More or less.
He's not really cooled off, you know, and that's just it. You talk about the grind that young players a lot of times will go through with Brian Anderson. You know, most of it's been good. You know, we're talking 90%, 95% of the time. But, you know, you're going to go through the 0 for 10s or the 0 for 12s. There hasn't been a whole lot made about that. He seems to walk a little bit more maybe when the hits stop coming a little bit. He's been an impressive young man so far.
He's also defended the strike zone beautifully with 2 strikes, and he has got 2 strikes on him right now. The other night when he hit a home run, it was his 13th home run, which tied him with Mickey Mantle, 6th most home runs in history among teenagers. This one out to center field. Sierra drifting back for the first out. Just for contextual purposes, his teammate Bryce Harper had 22 home runs as a teenager in 2012, but Tony Conigliaro with 24 home runs in 1964, the most among teenagers in baseball history. In steps Daniel Murphy. He's played in 3 of the 4 games of this series. At least started 3 of the 4 games in this series.
In case you're wondering, you were talking about the teenage years with Soto. Soto's got more time, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the rest of this year. He will call himself a teenager. Birthday is in October.
Yeah. Well, just looking at it right now, he's on a similar pace. He's through 58 games. Conigliaro had about twice as many home runs, 13 to 24, in 111 games. Certainly put himself right around the top of that NL Rookie of the Year discussion, along with the Marlins' Brian Anderson, Ronald Acuna Jr. with the Atlanta Braves, who we will see right after this game wraps up. Off to Atlanta for 3 after today. Murphy, foul. Very close down the line.
Daniel Murphy, I love it. He is a pure hitter, isn't he? He's telling the umpire he wants to make sure a new ball gets put in play because the ball hit the dirt and there might be a little scuff. You saw him walking back, kind of doing one of those where he shakes his hand. He's telling the home plate umpire, make sure there's a new ball put in play. Give Urena any kind of, you know, scuff that he might be able to run with.
Literally.
Yeah. All right. I think he needs more run on that fastball.
Well, it is fascinating how often a baseball hits the dirt in any form or fashion, and it's thrown out of play.
I believe that was Daniel Murphy. Some of his better Spanish.
Hey, for once this series, we don't have to apologize for some Nationals audio that gets picked up during the game. How about that?
Murphy works the walk. One out here in the second. You're absolutely right. We have had to, well, you have anyway, apologized a number of times throughout the series.
These guys get a little frustrated sometimes. Get a little antsy. First walk of the afternoon for Urania sets up a one-on-one out for Mark Reynolds, who is back at third base this afternoon. And lines one foul down the left field line. Now they had hoped to get Anthony Rendon back. Wife gave birth a couple of days ago. He was on the paternity list, so missed the first 3 games of the series. There were some rumblings that I had heard, maybe second or third hand, that he was going to take a red eye and be back for today, but shifted to the family medical leave list. So out for personal reasons is really the extent of what we know. Certainly hope everything's okay with the family. But that's why no Rendon today. Mark Reynolds gets another start over at third.
Didn't do much with the bat yesterday, but he was absolutely fantastic defensively. Number of key plays that kept the ball game close. And of course, we've seen him on his game offensively already this season. Well, boy, can he turn on a fastball. He's already done it in this at bat. One foul. 96 first pitch he saw. Just missed it down the left field line.
Urania up to 32 pitches with just one out here in the second.
By my count, only the third slider that he threw. And you mentioned the number of pitches that he's thrown. Of course, when you're a 2-pitch guy and you're throwing fastball and changeup, again, both quality pitches for Urania. You can get by with it for a little while, but that slider at some point is going to have to factor in. The reason we bring that up is the last couple of starts, which a bit disconnected for Urania, hasn't been able to go long, and he's been knocked around a little bit. So the last 4 hits against his slider, his last 2 starts, a triple and 2 home runs.
That one misses. Back-to-back walks. 2 on for the Nationals here in the second.
Now, and these are big signs right here, Paul. Last 2 hitters he was able to get ahead of. In fact, he was working from put away pitch spots 2 or 3 different times to both Reynolds and Murphy, and unable to put them away. So getting ahead, not the problem.
Kieboom with the ground ball to Prado. They get 1 over to first for the double play. So Urania gets the double play ball he needs to get out of any trouble in the second. Still scoreless. Welcome back to Miami. Of course, today the Hall of Fame inductions today. A very healthy class going into Cooperstown today. Certainly our congratulations to the players that went in. Chipper Jones, Vlad Guerrero, Jim Thome, Trevor Hoffman getting in. And then Jack Morris and Alan Trammell had to wait a little while, but they too go in. A couple of Tigers as well. So some phenomenal careers. Some had to wait longer than others. Others kind of sneak right in, but all extremely well-deserving, and our congratulations.
Yeah, most definitely. It's funny, you look at a lot of these guys I played with. Some I didn't. Obviously, Jack Morris, a little bit older than me. Alan Trammell, I knew him as a coach. Tremendous human being. Obviously, Jack, tremendous competitor as well. Trevor Hoffman, well, heck, I helped put him there. I was 0 for 6 with 5 punch-outs against him, so he should be thanking me. I shouldn't be thanking him. Chipper, a teammate. Well-deserving as well. Vladdy, I knew his brother quite well with the Los Angeles Dodgers, Wilton. Vladimir, my goodness, what ball couldn't he hit?
Oh my goodness gracious! Come on.
I mean, we used to kid about this stuff all the time. And we would go over, Vladimir in meetings, our meeting at pregame meetings, how we wanted to play him defensively, and we would all just look around the room at each other a lot of times and be like, "Yeah, well, how are you going to throw it? Like, what are you going to throw him?" I mean, he'll hit a bounced changeup off the right field wall. So he was an incredibly gifted baseball player, one of the strongest arms in the game as well, although at times we were willing to run on him because early on in his career he wasn't incredibly accurate. The thing about me, and I think Vladdy to me is quite impressive, one of the more talented, gifted players early in his career, and learned the game and got so much better at what he was and became a Hall of Famer. I'll explain in a second. Like early in his career, it was like, yeah, he could potentially get 200 hits because he was going to swing at everything and he was going to hit 324. And then after about 6 or 7 years of his career, he realized that everything wasn't going to be a pitch to hit, and he started taking his walks. So his on-base percentage started going up, and oh, by the way, he just kept hitting 318 and still hitting home runs. So he became a better player. Vladdy, just a tremendous. Look at that. I mean, of everything that you look up there, and 8 silver sluggers. That's not easy to do as an outfielder.
Right.
I mean, you understand, like, you're top 3 every year offensively. Wow. I mean, that is a feather in the cap.
Well, there was so much talk that Vlad should get in on his first try. He did not, and then he got 93% of the votes the second time.
Kind of explains that he should have got in on the first time.
Yeah. Well, Martin Prado, swing and a miss. First strike out of the afternoon for Jeremy Hellickson. JT Riddle and Miguel Rojas to follow. And that's the thing, it, brought up the first ballot Hall of Fame thing. At the end of the day, 20 years from now, these guys are all Hall of Famers. We get it. But for me, and I don't have a vote, but for me, I would say there is something to a first ballot Hall of Famer versus a non-first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, how do you separate the top 1% from the other 1%?
I mean, I suppose you can. You're right. I think it, really grabs all of our attention just because, you're obviously catering to a lot of different opinions and people who watched your career, and you're ending up, you end up at the top of all of their list.
Right.
Because we know how the process works. There is a bit of a, let's see, how do we say it? If a guy doesn't get in his first time, then naturally many of us, especially in the media, start to kind of state the case for that individual, whether positively or negatively, moving forward. And a lot of times you'll see those percentages go up over the years, if you know what I mean. Yep. So, when you're right, that first time, it's like we don't even get to those discussions. It's like the vote happens, and oh, by the way, he's getting in. It just kind of blankets everything. It's like, wow. Not only is he's the elite of the elite.
Yes. And again, that's just a tiny asterisk in a Hall of Fame career as Riddle skies this one right side. It will be Adams to make the play. 2 up and 2 down here in the second.
Hey, Marlins fans, now you can stream games live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go, presented by Coors Light. Download the app and take Fox Sports Florida and Marlins baseball wherever you go.
Nice crowd on hand for 305 day here at the ballpark. Folks getting a pit bull bobblehead beforehand. Got a bunch of celebrities, 305 related celebrities in town. We've got Kelly Sacco. Chit-chat with them throughout the afternoon. So a fun day here at Marlins Park as Miguel Rojas takes a breaking ball for called strike one.
Rojas getting his second game started at second base this season. Starlin Castro only his fourth day off, so to speak, non-start at second.
It's low to Rojas, who's hitting .330 with 4 doubles and 13 RBIs over his last 34 games. Another 2 hits last night. For 32 with 3 RBIs this year against the Nationals. Lifted out to shallow center field and over the head of Murphy. They're in there for a knock.
That's his 3rd consecutive hit to the same spot. Both base hits last night. I mentioned it last night, to this soft spot in the outfield defense, which is, well, somewhat straightaway center field, but maybe a little right center field, but really pulling those hands in. Now this changeup in. Again, it's all about the approach. It's got like his 3rd lob wedge to the same spot.
Yeah. Magnaoris Sierra getting the start today. And his second Marlins hit yesterday. First Marlins run scored as he came home with the winner last night in the 10th.
I'll tell you what, that was a tremendous bunt. I don't think people realize how hard it is to bunt velocity. Not only did he bunt it, it was a fantastic bunt.
How about the hit and run? Does that work too? Rojas was on the move and Turner went to go cover second base. Sierra hit it right behind Turner and it's 1st and 3rd.
All right, Rojas gets a pretty decent jump. You can run on Hellickson. He's quite deliberate to the plate. He was trying to attempt a stolen base there, and he kind of peeks back as that ball's put in play. Of course, 2 outs, so keep moving. Well done by Sierra. Back-to-back hits if you go back to last night. That bat really starting to come around. Nice approach.
Came over in the deal that sent Marcell Ozuna to St. Louis. Also in that deal, Sandy Alcantara, who had a rehab start last night. Perhaps one more, no official word, but figure to get Sandy back at some point rather soon, next couple of weeks, hopefully. 1st and 3rd, 2 out for Jose Urena. And that's a base hit up the middle. Over to 3rd goes Sierra. In to score is Rojas, and Urena helps himself.
It's Siree getting it done. Running the bases well. Everybody involved, from Rojas to Sierra, who's now over at 3rd base. Well, it cost him a bat, but he'll take the hit. Certainly the lead. 2-seam fastball up. You don't see too many pitches up from Hellickson. If you get one, jump on it. Urena does just that. Gets it through the middle. One's on the board.
3rd career RBI, 1st this year. Well, there's some run support.
Help yourself.
Sure, why not? And now back to the top of the order for Derek Dietrich. Dietrich with a pop-up to Reynolds back in the 1st inning. backhanded by Murphy. And the inning is over. But Urania's RBI single gives the Marlins a 1-0 lead.
Welcome back. 3 consecutive hits. Bottom of the second inning, get the Marlins the 1-0 lead. Urania has been pretty good so far through 2 innings. Bad contact. We've seen a lot of fastballs. How about some arm side run? The lefties, you're seeing it to that outside corner and balls off the end of the bat, so not solid contact in all 3 instances right there. It's exactly what he wants. Now to the same side of the plate against the righties, able to get in on their hands a couple of different times. So that fastball's been very, very important. We've talked about the fact he hasn't had his slider. He's only thrown 3 through the first 2 innings. So 29 fastballs. He's got to have that good arm side run, and so far so good.
Mentioned it's 305 day here at the ballpark. Let's check in with Kelly Sacco.
Thanks, Paul. Well, yes, it is 305 day here at the ballpark. They are honoring local celebs, and I'm here with one now. This is Eric Reed, your play-by-play voice for the Miami Heat. 30 years. So you've had 30 off seasons. What have you been up to?
A lot of basketball and a lot of great family time this time of the year.
Got to enjoy that family time when you got the time off. So the past 15 years, you've been side by side with the coach, Tony Ferrantino. So he has taken a retirement now. What are you going to miss most about calling games with him?
Nothing yet, because we haven't started doing it without him yet. But Tony and I are fortunate that we're 2 of the 7 original employees of the Miami Heat that are still around. So we've had 30 years of friendship and partnership with the Heat, and 15 years of doing games on TV together, which covers all 3 championships if you do the math, and a lot of ground. And no matter who you do that with, it's special. When you're doing it with a true friend and a brother for life, that's how special it was for Coach and I. And now we're looking forward to embracing the next season, which John Crotty will be joining us for. And we look forward to another playoff year for the Miami Heat and another great season of NBA basketball here in South Florida.
Coach is going to be missed, but like you said, he's filling in as John Crotty. How excited are you to work with him? I'm
really excited to work with John. He was a player on one of my favorite Heat teams. A lot of people in Heat Nation remember the 96, 97 Road Warriors that won 61 games and brought that championship feeling to Miami long before that first title. But John's been with the organization the last 10 years. He's a former point guard, so he's going to bring his unique perspective as not only a player, but, you know, the point guard's the quarterback on the floor. So I think that puts him in a good position to really explain the game to fans. We've been blessed to have a lot of great coaches do it, and now we're going to have a guy that can see the game as a point guard, explain the game to people as a point guard. So that should be a lot of fun.
Brings in wonderful insight to all the Heat games on Fox Sports Sun, so make sure you guys tune in all season. So 30 years, any particular memories that stand out?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, from, you know, the first game to the first championship, and the look back at the team's history as the Marlins are trying to build tradition with, and the best way to do that is not only games played, but championship games played. And the Heat's been fortunate to play for a championship 5 times and win 3 of them. I brought one of these out just to remind how good it feels. But I always say it's not the jewelry, it's the memories that it leaves you, your franchise, your town, and even your own family. It's great to have championship memories sprinkled in. It's a real gift.
A lot of great memories. And before we let you go, Eric, you know, Heat have been to the playoffs 20 of the past 30 years. Give us a little scouting report for this year's team.
Well, you know, I think people are sleeping on the Heat a little bit because we've had a quiet offseason. No draft picks, no big free agent signings, but what we do have is the same group back, healthier with Dion Waiters returning. I think stronger with Hassan Whiteside, you know, returning to the form that we know he could play. Hopefully Dwayne Wade and Udonis are back. And it's a deep, young team with a chip on its shoulder. They were a playoff team last year without Waiters and with Whiteside not having a great year. So I look for more of the same and an improvement upon last year, which got us to the first round. So hopefully this year it's in and beyond round 1.
Thanks so much, Eric. Make sure to tune in, Fox Sports Sun.
All right, thanks so much. Appreciate the time. Yeah, absolutely. It's a terrific jewelry, by the way, too. My goodness.
Like the bling, do you?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Wouldn't want to get punched with that or hit by this pitch, as Trey Turner did a moment ago.
Yeah, that's on the backside. Literally.
Right in the wallet. Here's Bryce Harper. Big cut and miss, 95 away. And it's 0-1. Harper with a base hit back in the first inning. You know, kind of tried to split up the season, not necessarily right down the middle, but the first couple of months and from June 1st on, 49 strikeouts in the first 55 games for Bryce Harper, 67 strikeouts since June 1st. So it is, you know, the strikeouts that have led to the lower batting average, which is at 220. But as we have said throughout the series, kind of the other things make it a very interesting case, whether it is however this franchise goes the next few days with the trade deadline or the offseason. 25 homers, 62 RBIs. You look at that, you say, well, it's a good season. You look at the 220 average, you say, well, maybe not so great. So I don't know. I don't know which way to go with this.
You know, it's kind of a blending of conversations. One thing you got to remember is that we saw a different Bryce Harper earlier in his career, and I think that's where people are probably hung up on this as much as anything, is that Bryce Harper's kind of reinvented himself a little bit more as a, well, let's just call it a pure slugger, if you will. I mean, you know, the 3 true outcomes, we talk about the walks, the homers, and obviously the strikeouts. But earlier in his career, you know, he brought different dynamics to the game. Now, I'm not sure that, again, you know, the Nationals, they see him every day, but I think most people on the national level think that his game has changed a little bit. And I don't know about you, but for me, it's like, you know, I don't want to necessarily, well, you know, he's less exciting, but there's less going on. I mean, 50% of the time, we're either talking about a home run, a walk, or a strikeout. And I think what makes Bryce tick was that, you know, that incredible intensity that a lot of times we would see even on the base paths.
Well, that year that he won the MVP in 2015, 42 home runs, 99 RBIs, and a .330 batting average. Last year he hit .319, but all the other years he's been, now listen, there's a big difference between 220 and 270. I understand that, but those are the only 2 seasons in his career that he's hit over 300. So he hasn't always been that Miguel Cabrera type Triple Crown conversation sort of guy. He has had pockets of good years with the batting average, but yeah, I mean, he's always been that slugger type.
I just think I think that what people are taking away right now is maybe a little bit of the body language. I mean, we've seen it even in this 4-game series, right? When we've seen him kind of foul off a number of pitches, he looks frustrated.
Yeah, as Adams may be right there as he pops one up to Prado for the 3rd out. That strand a couple, 1-0 Marlins.
Welcome back. Bottom third, Marlins up 1-0. Join the Marlins on Saturday, August 11th. As they take on the Mets. Arrive early to get your hands on a Marlins tropical jersey presented by TR Tourism. Purchase your tickets today at marlins.com/giveaways. Fit right in your wardrobe, wouldn't it? No?
No, I think that would work. I'm not opposed to wearing a pink shirt every once in a while, so that's nice. I have one mint shirt. You know, I don't know if that's my color palette.
South Florida, pal.
No, absolutely. I
Got a couple. I mean, I don't wear them often. But in fact, I never wear them. But I do have a couple in the closet.
If I ever run into you in the grocery store and you're wearing flip-flops and
There's a good chance that
tropical
happens.
shirt, I am definitely taking
Off
a picture
hours,
of it.
you know, either early morning or late at night.
Ball and a strike to Brian Anderson, and JT Realmuto and Justin Bohr. Marlins up 1-0. Jose Urena with an RBI single in the second. One's grounded foul. Anderson for the base hit in the first inning. Started today 7th in the National League in hits. And first among rookies in Major League Baseball. And he is hit with a pitch. One on here in the third. Time for the Toyota inside look. All right, so again, today is Hall of Fame Day, a class of 6 being inducted. So, how did some of the Hall of Famers fare when they were Marlins or tied to the organization somehow, some way? Some links to Cooperstown. Of course, the current radio voice of the Marlins, Dave Van Horn, the Ford Frick Award in 2011. Trevor Hoffman goes in today. Congratulations. He was here for a little bit of time in 1993. Dave Van Horn on the right. Glenn Geffner on the left. No. The innings that Glenn's doing the play-by-play. One pitch to Realmuto is low from Hellickson.
Now we talk about, we saw this last inning, why the Marlins would maybe be a little bit more aggressive today on the base paths, maybe starting a few guys. Well, Hellickson is not ridiculously slow to home plate, talking time-wise, but half of his arsenal is off-speed pitches, if not more, most starts. As you mentioned, a changeup 24% of the time, curveball 25% of the time, cutter and sinker as well. Sometimes you can steal little bits of time if you get a decent jump. Much of base stealing is getting a good jump and running on the right pitch. Seems pretty obvious, but if you're trying to steal a base and you're running on 97, you know, again, the play itself is naturally sped up. You run on a 78-mile-an-hour curveball, you got a better chance.
Looped out toward Turner, who will make the play. A step or two onto the outfield grass. One away here in the third. Yeah, I mean, that difference of 20 miles per hour translates to split second and how close to the plates at second base.
And you know, the reason I bring it up, obviously we've seen a couple of guys in motion today against Hellickson, and that's, you know, sometimes the idea, of course, is, you know, his curveball at 78 miles an hour. Not only is it changing planes, which puts some strain on Keyboom behind the plate, but at the same time you buy a split second, an extra step or two on your way to second base because of the secondary pitch. Urania, who's a little bit tougher to run on. Why? Well, he's throwing 97 about every other pitch.
Justin Bohr takes a strike. Kieboom thought about it, but back to first base is Anderson. So many different ways to control the running game. Whether it's things like that, you see pitchers kind of hold the ball. Actually, that's one thing that Max Scherzer works on. Clearly not pitching today, but he'll work on that before he starts. When he's going through his pregame routines out in the outfield, he will come set and actually stand there.
Yeah, and ideally what he's doing is trying to freeze the runner. You're absolutely right. Not everybody wants to do that. Timing is everything when it comes to base running. Second fastball in from Hellickson at 0-2. Yeah, that's the idea. You're absolutely right, Paul. I mean, you can freeze a runner, and that's what Scherzer does. If he varies his time, listen, if you're routinely 1-3 or above, that's a good speed. When I say 1-3, we're talking 1.3 seconds to home plate. It's actually somebody that a base runner would think of running on. Now, if, in fact, you say to yourself, okay, well, he's consistently 1-3 to the plate, but in the hold time, I vary that. What a lot of times will do to the runner at first base is kind of lock up his knees. You know, base runners have to have rhythm. You get your lead, you kind of get into a stationary position. Much like Scherzer does, he holds. What do? You hold. Hard to maintain a rhythm at first base if you're being held for 2 or 3 seconds, so it kind of locks you into your, well, we talk about kind of getting cement in the bottom of your shoes, if you know what I mean. That's what it does. You've seen Hellickson do it a number of times here. See, that long hold kind of freezes you.
Moore sends it out to center field. Harper took a step or two in before moving back to make the play, and they're 2 away. Well, yeah, sometimes it's, I mean, for me, it's probably different for you, but for me, it's most evident when there's a runner on second base and they'll take third. They'll look at the pitcher, and the pitcher he'll get the sign, he'll come set, he looks back, he looks, he goes. It's like a rhythm. It's
Absolutely.
boom, 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 and then he goes.
And that's what he's stealing on.
Upset that timing, able to keep the base runner where he's at.
Well, good base runners are looking for patterns or consistency or a moment in time when you get rattled. We've seen Rojas a number of times. You know, he'll run first pitch after a meeting on the mound where the pitcher is kind of really locking back into what he's trying to accomplish at home plate. Great time to run. What's he do? He gets himself in motion, ends up stealing a base, and nobody saw it coming.
It's Martin Prado. Takes a look at strike one. Prado struck out in the second inning, the only strikeout thus far for Hellickson. Hellickson, the Rookie of the Year in the American League in 2007 with the Tampa Bay Rays. Of Prado's last 13 games started, he has had 6 multi-hit games. Find a way to get on base and extend this third inning. Check on Anderson, who led off the frame by being hit with a pitch.
Hellickson's been filling it up today. 39 total pitches, 30 strikes, only 9 balls. I think back to the start Hellickson had against the Marlins earlier this month. He knocked him around pretty good. Number of pitches up in the zone. You mentioned he was a little under the weather that day. There's no doubt about it, because again, his command was just not there. So far today, much better. He was He's really been working that low zone. It's where he hangs out.
Like so, 1 and 2.
Well, none of Hellickson's arsenal really plays up because he, maintains that sinker in the arm side run that he's got on his ball. Of course, his changeup and his curveball as well. Anything up doesn't really have enough velocity to even fool a hitter. He's one of the few that can really key in down in the zone.
This one out to center field, and a long run back for Harper. Unable to catch up with it. Anderson's going to come around to score. Kind of tracking the trajectory of that ball. I thought it was going to maybe slice back to Harper, but it was over his head by just enough. And it's an RBI double for Martin Prado.
Yeah, great swing here. We talk about that low zone, the sinker low and in. Martin Prado does a nice job squaring it up and driving it to center field, taking it all the way to the warning track. Oh, Harper turned his ankle, kind of had an odd reaction to that ball as he went into the wall. You see the effort there, undeniable, but he continues to the left. The ball is to the right. I think Anderson scores anyway.
So it's 2-0 Miami as JT Riddle takes a little low. Yeah, off the bat, that was heading toward the, in my eye, from my perspective, like that health sun sign in left center field, and then it kept coming back towards center field over the head of Harper. Harper's been playing a little more center field this year as Adam Eaton has been working his way back from injury. A little less ground to cover in right, so they've moved Harper over there on days that Michael A. Taylor is in the starting lineup. Harper will be back in right field. So not necessarily a new position for Harper, but an RBI double for Prado nonetheless. Low to Riddle, 2-0.
I'll tell you what, JT is due. Number of hard hit balls on the homestand. Still looking for his first hit. Defense has not suffered one bit. Certainly would love to come through with a big 2-out hit right here.
Excuse me, swing, 2-1. Marlins have won 9 of 15 overall, 3 games over 500 their last 47. And they have played well at home recently. 10 of 17. Foul ground. Reynolds will give it a look. 2-2. Of course, a lot of baseball left in this one. Just a 2-run lead for them, but the Marlins hoping to pick up a W today and get a split against the Nationals. Coming into this one, the Marlins have won or split the last 5 home series. Take to the road after this one, head to Atlanta, weigh in Chen, Julio Teheran, the 2 starting pitchers. The pregame show on the air at 7 o'clock. First pitch a little after 7:30 at SunTrust Park. First of 3, first of a 7-game road trip through Atlanta and Philadelphia. 2-2 to Riddle, is grounded foul. Made it through 22 pitches in this inning. Fairly economical the first two innings.
I do wonder, Marlins 2-0 lead here, of course, early in game 4 of this series. You and I have had a number of conversations about the state of the Nationals and where they'll go at the trade deadline. Even the Nationals have insinuating that a lot will be determined after this 4-game series, and I can't help but wonder, Marlins go off and finish this one off and pick up a victory today. Where does that leave you? 2-2. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like more of the same.
Well, we had some of the numbers yesterday about how if you take the Marlins out, where are the Nationals? They were 8-1 against Miami going into yesterday. It certainly helps to bloat their record a little bit, their run differential and the like. But today through 3, it's the Marlins up 2-0 on Harper and the Nats.
Welcome back here as we move along top of the 4th. There's Juan Soto. He's the young sensation we've been talking about. He has grabbed the major leagues by storm here as he plays not quite 40 games now for the Nationals. You look at his numbers and his age. He won't turn 20 until October the 25th. Now here's an interesting story. The Marlins, have they ever had a teenager? They have never had anyone in their teens play a major league game with the Marlins. Miguel Cabrera was the youngest back in the 03 season. He was 20 years and just the past 2 months past his 20th birthday. Then Stanton at 212 days. Also Jose Fernandez, Edgar Renteria, the top 4. Renteria, the highest average at 287. Stanton, 22 homers at the age of 20, better than Miggy's 18. And Cabrera, 508 slugging, 1 little percentage point better than Stanton's at 507. But interesting, guys, no teens. It's a rarity in baseball that somebody to come through this tough game where sometimes guys spend 4 to 8 years in the minor leagues to get here, to see a guy like this.
Yeah, not just to get here at this age, but to be so impactful. He enters this at bat hitting .313, 13 homers, 36 RBIs. You know, I mentioned it a little bit yesterday, and the inning kind of sped up, but the terrific article in Baseball America recently, and there were some quotes in there from Soto that said, you know, I've always played above my level. I was 12 years old. I was playing with guys who were 14 and 15 years old, and this is, you know, really no different. He is a boy playing amongst men, and certainly playing the part of a man for sure as he draws the leadoff walk.
Yeah, and you know, I think we all find ourselves raving about different phases of his game. You know, most of it really with the bat in the hand. I'll say this, I have not seen in my lifetime, either as a player or as a broadcaster now, such incredible plate discipline knowing his strike zone as well as he does, the ability to defend it, as I like to say, you certainly agree with that, I know. You know, but the idea of, you know, laying off tough pitches, shortening up with 2 strikes, and really just, I guess what I'm saying is his on-base percentage is what catches my eye every time.
Yeah.
And he's hit a couple upper deck home runs in this series too. That's an easy place to go when you say, oh, wow, you remember how far he hit that ball, and it's like, I don't think that's what really kind of puts me in awe of it's his approach.
Yeah. Well, of course, shares a home ballpark with Bryce Harper, and he had one earlier this year that was further as he goes here, and Murphy down the right field line. That one foul, and terrific effort down the line. Soto hit one into the upper deck, and I believe it was Bob Carpenter, the TV voice of the Nationals, that said he had never seen a ball hit up there. He's seen a lot of home runs off the bat of Bryce Harper. You mentioned he's got great plate discipline, so kind of the opposite of a guy who's going in the Hall of Fame, Vlad Guerrero, whom Soto played with his son.
Right.
Actually, growing up, Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Well, I think Vlad developed it. I guess that's my point.
Sure.
Right. But I mean, early on, it was more about, you know, the fact that you couldn't throw anything by him. I mean, that's what we used to say about Vlad. Like, what's the scouting report? We're like, you might as well just throw it down the middle, because no matter what you throw, he can hit.
2-2 to Murphy, who takes a called strike 3. 97 on the black.
It's easy to beat the heat when you become an energy-saving expert. Go to fpl.com/beattheheat.
Daniel Murphy unable to beat the heat. Didn't even offer at it. A called strike 3. The 3rd strikeout of the afternoon for Urania, as Mark Reynolds cuts and misses. A walk in the 2nd inning for Reynolds. They walked Soto here in this inning. 4 walks thus far for Urania.
Just looking at some numbers now, Soto has a 991 OPS. Now, if he qualified, he would be 6th in Major League Baseball. Think about that for a second. 6th. Now, we have a lot of fun conversations about rookies, 100% because of Brian Anderson and the fantastic season he's putting together. But wow, I mean, that's a big deal.
When you think of guys who have come through the game that have played as a teenager, we talked about the home runs earlier, guys like Mel Ott, Bryce Harper, Tony Conigliaro. Edgar Renteria, as a teenager, hit .309. Juan Soto and Edgar Renteria, the only 2 with 100 plate appearances or more in the big leagues since 1990 as a teenager. Those are the only 2 guys to hit over 300. Bryce Harper at 270. Pudge Rodriguez 264. Adrian Beltre, who has turned into, for me and probably for many, a Hall of Famer. As Soto goes, throw down to second is not in time, but Rio Muto, yeah, I think it's going to be interference on Reynolds. Home plate umpire Mike Machlinski waving Soto back to first base. One more look.
Yeah, this changeup down. You see the continuation. Now the batter box, the box itself is the hitter's. The hitter doesn't have to move, but he's got to stay in the box. Watch Reynolds as he finishes his swing, steps out over home plate. That is your ruling.
Home plate umpire calling for interference. Don Mattingly wanting a further explanation. Somewhat satisfied with what he hears, and that'll bring up Spencer Kieboom. Kieboom grounded into a double play in the 2nd inning. Takes a called strike. Boom to start this afternoon. We've seen Matt Wieters the first 3 games of this series. Pedro Severino has been up at times for the Nationals this year. They just cannot seem to figure out how to get some offense from that catcher spot.
I need to get you to stop mentioning it.
Oh, that was it. Period.
The reason I say that, everybody, it always comes back to JT is what I'm getting at.
Of course it does. The Marlins have, I mean, you could easily make the case right now in 2018, the best catcher in baseball. I mean, there would be 29 other teams that would want this guy.
Right. That certainly is a reflection of a way to improve.
Runner goes. Throw to second is in time. Oh, right on cue. The best catcher in the game with a caught stealing. Throw right on the money to get Soto. Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. The Cleveland Clinic, stiff joints, aches and pains, trust Cleveland Clinic Florida, the #1 orthopedic care in Florida. And by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Some rain in the area, but it's turned into a nice afternoon. 3:05 day here at the ballpark. The Marlins and Nationals wrap up a 4-game set. Jeremy Hellickson to lead, Miguel Rojas to lead things off against Jeremy Hellickson. Here in the 4th inning, it's Rojas and then Sierra and Urania. Caught stealing to nab Soto at second base, ending any potential threat for the Nationals, who have just 1 hit against Urania today.
His fastball command has been fantastic. Matt Urania.
And Rojas left field for Soto. And there is 1 away. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Miami Marlins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. Magnaoris Sierra with a base hit in the 2nd inning, as Rojas was attempting to steal second base. Shortstop Trey Turner went to go cover, and Sierra hit it right behind Turner. Ball jumped off his bat. That paired with the speed of this young man, certainly something that the Marlins liked when they acquired him, as this one is chopped right to Adams. And there are 2 outs here in the 4th. Off to Atlanta at the conclusion of this one. Wei In Chen, Julio Teheran, the two starting pitchers. South Florida Honda dealers present Marlins Live, the pregame show. Craig Minervini, Tommy Hutton, and Gabby Sanchez in studio. First of a 3-game set against the Bravos. We're currently taking on the Dodgers right now. They lead it 2-0 at SunTrust Park. Nick Markakis with, believe it or not, a double. His 32nd got the Braves on the board, and then Kurt Suzuki with a double. So a pair of doubles against Ross Stripling. Braves lead at 2-0. The Philadelphia Phillies, who currently sit atop the division, 2.5 clear of Atlanta. They are down 3-0 in Cincinnati. Urania got the scoring started with an RBI single in the second inning. Waved at and missed. And a quick, clean inning for Hellickson on 6 pitches. 2-0. Go to the top of the 5th. We check in with Kelly Sacco.
Thanks, Paul. Well, I'm joined by another local celeb ambassador for Zoo Miami, Ron Miguel. Ron, thanks so much for joining us. As we said, they're celebrating all the local celebs here, and you've had so much support from this community and Zoo Miami. What does that mean to you?
You know, I still can't believe it, to be honest with you. I'm really just a zookeeper. I've been really lucky to live my passion, to work with wildlife, and to have this community embrace me the way they have. It's very, very moving for me. It really is.
Another big passion of yours is baseball, so tell us, how did you get into baseball and this relationship you have with the Marlins organization?
Well, understand, I'm a Cuban American, and baseball in our Latin community is so strong. It's something so positive. I grew up playing baseball. I grew up in New York, so I was a big Mets fan, and then came down here to Miami and was so happy when this franchise became a Miami franchise. This was fantastic for me. And then to have this ballpark. I mean, look, let's be honest. It's August, or getting close to August here in Miami. Right now, it's pouring out there. And here we are in this beautiful air-conditioned climate in one of the most beautiful ballparks in the world, watching a great game, watching a pitcher get in the RBI to help his own game here. This is fantastic. This is what America's all about.
You gotta love it, especially like you said with that roof, with all that rain going out out there.
It's so beautiful in here right now. It is so comfortable. I'm thinking to myself, this is heaven. This is fantastic. And what a great ballpark. And again, we're winning.
And you have a great relationship, not only with this organization, but some of the guys on the team. So tell us about how that developed.
Absolutely. And I've been able to meet a lot of the guys on the team because they love animals, they love coming to the zoo. But Justin Boris, I mean, that guy's like my brother from another mother. He's such a down-to-earth, wonderful guy. I think he's a role model for every professional athlete. Here's a guy with class, with humility, and he's just a real gentleman in every sense of the word. I've had him over at the zoo, his girlfriend Haley, and he's just a really great guy. It feels like family, and that's a special feeling here.
Well, Ron, thank you so much for joining us and the Marlins family. Back up to you guys in the booth.
Well, yeah, Ron and Kelly, thanks so much. And a special thanks to Ron and all the good folks at Zoo Miami. Of course, we had the fantasy auction earlier this week. They very kindly gave to the, I believe it was called the Live Wild package that folks bid on. So terrific, terrific stuff there. I told you before, I went to Zoo Miami with the help of Ron. It was terrific to go there, my first trip down there over the All-Star break. The Crocodile Tunnel, where you can get into the tunnel underwater, and this big beast is right there, and you hope he's not going to break the glass. But boy, when they snap, it's some scary stuff.
I'll tell you what,
adrenaline rush.
Ron is the best. I love his passion and his enthusiasm for what he does. It's undeniable and it's contagious. I tell you, he got me up out of my chair. Just sitting here listening to him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of human being he is. He's a great, great person.
He was here for Fan Fest. I know you were on stage with him at Fan
I'm
Fest.
telling you, I have so much respect for him after that debacle. Brought out this incredible iguana. I mean, one of the biggest iguanas I've ever seen. Well, listen, I'm guessing animals probably aren't on a clock when it comes to, well, having to go to the bathroom, let's be honest. He hung in there like a trooper, like nothing I've ever seen. Brian Anderson can attest to this. He was sitting right next to me. The look on his face was priceless. But Ron was just gutting it out. I mean, it was like he was going to...
So did the iguana, apparently.
Well, yeah, well, the iguana. The iguana clearly was much more comfortable after his part in the episode, so to speak. Ron had to suffer through the rest of it.
Boy. Hellickson lifts one out to Anderson, who actually gives way to Sierra in right center field, and there are 2 outs. Coming up at the conclusion of this ball game, it is Inside the Marlins, the latest episode, Call to the Pen, premiering today after Marlins Live, our post-game show. Talk with Guerrero, Barraclaw, a bunch of the arms down there who the last couple of months have really settled in to be extremely effective. So Inside the Marlins, Call to the Pen, coming up after Marlins Live post-game show. And he takes outside, 2 balls and no strikes. A ground out and a strikeout looking. 4 strikeouts for Urania this afternoon. And that one lined right to the glove of Rojas. And it's a 1-2-3 fifth for Urania. Sharply hit, but right to Miggy. 2-0. Welcome back to the bottom of the 5th. We go. Marlins in front 2-0. Time for This Day in Marlins History, presented to you by Geico. Let's take you back to 1993. Of course, today is Hall of Fame induction day. Wasn't necessarily this day, but a day in Marlins history, and it was the first of 601 career saves for newly minted Hall of Famer Trevor Hoffman. Of course, his career started with the Marlins and ended with the Brewers, but everybody remembers him as a Padre.
I do wonder, he picks up #1 right there. You could see the intensity, obviously, in the look, and obviously the save at that point in time in history was becoming quite popular. I mean, Trevor was kind of out in front of this. Closers and new roles and, understanding the save. And, we love talking new stats even in today's game, just done differently. If he thought that #1 was going to lead to well over 600, you know what I mean? It's like amazing, seeing that first step, that first one. Probably tell you, not one of them was easy.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I mean, he was terrific, and I think his calling card, the changeup.
Oh,
nasty.
That's right.
When you saw it in the
I
box.
told you. I saw him 6 times in the 9th inning. I struck out 5, and I knew it was coming every at bat. I think the one time that I went up there, he even threw me anything to hit. I missed the pitch. Like, he threw me like one fastball in my 6 at bats that were like, something I could do something with, and I fouled it off, and I was like, I'm done. And it's a helpless feeling because he's going to bring it. I mean, you're looking for arm slot, you're looking for arm angle, and we talk about this with Richards all the time. It's like, guys know he's going to throw that changeup, and he would. Still couldn't do anything with it.
Well, it is unbelievable how he was able to turn an injury. He came up as an infielder, and he was able to turn an injury into a Hall of Fame career. So congratulations to Trevor Hoffman, the rest of the Hall of Fame class. They're going through their speeches right now. Chipper Jones is at the podium. Former #1 overall pick with the Atlanta Braves as Derek Dietrich strikes out. 3rd of the afternoon for Hellickson. 1 away here in the 5th. Steps Brian Anderson. Base hit in the 1st, hit by a pitch, and came around to score in the 3rd. Takes a ball inside. Well, kind of right on par for Jeremy Hellickson today. His last 3 starts, all on the road, so that's now 4 in a row on the road. Pittsburgh, New York, Milwaukee. Entering today 2-0 with a 2.25 ERA, 12 strikeouts in 16 innings pitched over the course of his last 3, and today scattered the 5 hits, but he has been effective. Now here you go, though, 3rd time through the order. This has been a bit of a bugaboo for him.
Well, I mean, that's the story of his career, and certainly how they've managed him this season. He's only at 61 pitches, but you're right, trailing 2-0. I don't know if that necessarily kind of lends itself to the idea that maybe you'll see him a little bit longer today. Of course, we saw that with Gio, where I felt like he was kind of coming back out because of this game circumstances, trailing 1-0. We'll see where that goes, but traditionally, like I said, he's not allowed to go too much into that 3rd time through.
That one line foul down the 3rd baseline. Down there in a hurry.
Hellickson has gone less than 6 innings in 12 of his 14 starts.
Another 1-2 pitch on the way to Anderson is in the dirt to even the count up. The batting average goes for Hellickson. First time through 191. Up to 236. Up to a cool 400.
That's an interesting conversation. You know, Hellickson can only answer it himself. I think he represents, you know, a number of pitchers in the game today, and you know, I guess it's the idea that, you know, this will serve you better throughout your career, you know, where less is more, but at the same time, a lot of times less is more hits you in the pocketbook too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We've kind of seen that trend in a lot of different ways. It's a whole nother conversation for another day. But you know, Hellickson, again, when you look at his ERA coming in at 3.44, you say, okay, he's found himself. I mean, he struggled his last couple of seasons.
There's a base hit up the middle for Brian Anderson. Another multi-hit game. Chevrolet Prospect Spotlight today focuses in on Jeff Brigham, acquired from the Dodgers for Matt Latos in 2015. Promoted from Jacksonville, and 3 starts at AAA. 2-0 with a 1.93 ERA and 17 strikeouts in 18 2/3 innings. Pitching for the Baby Cakes in AAA. In fact, most recently, Zach Gallen won his 3rd consecutive start. 0.51 ERA during his win streak, 18 strikeouts. Good things going on for the AAA affiliate of the Marlins. Well, for 2 today for JT Realmuto, the hero from last night, with 5 Nationals on the infield and 2 outfielders playing in the gaps. A high fly ball down the right field line. It just fell fair as they get a check on Anderson, who's back. It just fell fair, and it was the 7th walk-off win of the season for the Marlins.
I'll tell you one thing that JT has really done a nice job of this season in comparison to others. Of course, this is an all-star 2018. Hit well at home. Came into this season a .238 hitter at Marlins Park. He's always hit well on the road. This year he's hit .321. He's got 8 home runs on the road. This season at home here at Marlins Park, hitting .300. 5 home runs. So, again, you're always looking for ways to improve your game and kind of get better. He's figured a few things out here at Marlins Park.
Down on the count, 1-2. Here is the pitch. It's outside. By playing first base yesterday, he's able to play in all 4 games of this series, get not necessarily a half day as Matt Grace loosens for the Nationals, but get off his legs behind the plate. Left side, diving attempt by Reynolds, knocked down by Turner. That'll be an infield single for Realmuto. 2 on, 1 out in the 5th.
Base hit to the left side. As you see, Reynolds diving the forehand, not able to come up with it. And Turner really, but if he comes up with that, really no shot at first. JT hustling down the line.
Seventh hit of the afternoon for the Marlins against Jeremy Hellickson. Here is Bohr. A couple of fly balls out to Harper in center field today.
Hellickson has stayed in on JB's hands today. First at bat, he popped up a changeup, outer third. Second at bat, Hellickson with a two-seam fastball, 3 times in. Just like that. Inside corner, that inner third, trying to crowd him, keep those hands close to the body for JB. He loves to get those arms extended.
One. Cut on and missed. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, a big spot in the middle innings of this ball game. If you recall from last night's game, Gio Gonzalez walked 3 consecutive Marlins. They were able to get out of that inning. The Marlins were with only 1 run. This would be a situation where middle of the order, 2 on, they'd like to dent the scoreboard a little bit, but Moore strikes out for out number 2.
Well, Hellickson crowds him 3 times. Last 2 pitches, the two-seam fastball starts it off just off that inside corner. A little run back to it. We get it by JB.
Martin Prado. RBI double over the head of Bryce Harper in center field. Back in the 3rd inning. Single runs for the Marlins in the 2nd and the 3rd. Looking for more here in the 5th against Hellickson and the Nationals. Called strike. Strikeouts in the inning for Hellickson. 2 hits allowed in the inning. Dietrich struck out. Back-to-back hits by Anderson and Real Muto, and then the strikeout a moment ago of Bohr. And a foul ball. Boy, that couldn't have missed by much.
Good swing by Martin, just around it a little bit. See it off the bat, straight down that line. Just a little hook to it.
About 6 inches to the right, and that's probably a 2-run double.
Soto playing him straight up and left.
Here comes the 1-2 pitch. The Nationals, a team that Prado has done damage against in his career. Most RBIs against one opponent, 75 against the Phillies. Nationals next at now 59. After the Ribby double in the 3rd. Doesn't bite. Count runs full. Both runners will get a head start.
Now, what we've seen from Prado, I'll tell you, is coming back off the disabled list, that disciplined approach, what he's known for. Not afraid to hit with 2 strikes, ability to foul off tough pitches, and very good plate discipline.
Comes the 3-2 pitch. Runners go, and a base hit through the right side. Anderson around from 3rd. He'll score. To third goes Real Mito, and Prado comes through again with an RBI single to make it 3-0.
Now, once again, fantastic job by Martin Prado. RBI double in that third inning. Works his way back into the count, lays off a couple of tough breaking balls, and you see the two-seamer up. He earns this pitch. Goes with it like he does so many times, drives it the other way. Both RBI hits have come with 2 outs. Another multi-hit game for Prado. Marlins continue to add to this lead.
His 7th multi-hit effort in his last 14 starts. That'll do it for Hellickson. The Florida Lottery call to the bullpen. Martin Prado has 2 ribbies today to give the Marlins a 3-0 lead. The new Monopoly Jackpot Scratch-Offs from the Florida Lottery are a new spin on a classic. They're loaded with prizes from $10,000 to $2 million. So unleash the excitement anytime. The Florida Lottery, it's your ticket. Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly. Matt Grace into the ballgame out of the Nationals bullpen, making his 32nd appearance this year. Pitching to a 2.87 ERA. Face JT Riddle with runners on the corners and a run home.
You see the numbers for Grace. Had a nice season. 2.87 ERA. This is game number 32. Fastball slider, I should say sinker slider. He's pretty good at getting the ball on the ground about 53% of the time throughout his career.
Away from third, and Prado off of first. Strike to Riddle, 1-1. They were able to get to Hellickson for 8 hits. He didn't walk anybody, but you know, you talked about it at the outset of his outing. He's usually pretty good based on the earned run column.
Right.
It's the innings pitch column that seems to be an issue for him. Today was a very similar case as he leaves after 4 2/3, and right now 3 earned runs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's an oddity that you kind of find in the game. I don't know if are players better served for it, but I mean that's who Hellickson is. When you look at the numbers, the number of innings, he just doesn't go long. I mean, take a look at we talked about the third time through. You mentioned the batting average against, what was it, 400?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 2 strikeouts here in the 4th inning. This being the 3rd time through, 3 hits. So 3 for 5 with 2 strikeouts. Those 3 hits have led to another run.
Chopped right side, backhanded and knocked down by Murphy, and not able to recover in time. Riddle will reach, and Real Muto will score. It's 4-0. Be an error on Murphy.
Murphy decides to go to the backhand. I'll tell you, slow developing play. This ball wasn't hit hard. Murphy has to come in to field it on the backhand, and as soon as he knocks it down, loses where the ball is at. Buys Riddle an extra step or two, and certainly enough time to beat it out, hustling all the way.
The Nationals, generally speaking, a pretty good defensive team. But they have certainly had their issues in this series. Miguel Rojas will stand in, 2 on and 2 out. 2 home here in the 5th.
5 errors in the series for the Nationals. They came in leading Major League Baseball in fewest errors this season. In a lot of ways kind of explains their complicated season. It's not a start anymore. I mean, we're well past 100 games. You throw out phrases like, if something wrong will happen, it seems to happen to us. Well, that seems to be the Nationals. Something's always breaking down. Tell you, maybe this 4-game series sums it up. Of course, there's a lot of game left here in game 4, but my point is this. I mean, they looked invincible almost in games 1 and 2, did they not? Pitching, defense, offense, scoring runs late, 45 base runners through 2 games.
You said anything that can go wrong will go wrong. It's Murphy's Law. He didn't make it, though.
Well, he made the 5th error.
Fairly sure of that, yeah.
He brought the subject up, so shame on him.
A base hit for Rojas into left field. Prado will score. To third goes Riddle. And up to second goes Miggy. It's a 5-0 Marlins lead.
Man, oh man, does he go down and get this one. Nice job of hitting by Miguel Rojas. Watch the extension. That is below the strike zone, well below the strike zone. Picks on a breaking ball. I mean, we're talking just above the shoe tops. Well done. Just enough extension and elevation to get it through the left side. See Reynolds there with a little bit of a jump, but more than enough to get it done. Marlins opening this one up. Now 5-0. Bottom 5.
A 3-run 5th inning for the Marlins. They've opened up a 5-0 lead, and they've got 2 in scoring position for Magnaioris Sierra. Grounded foul, 0-1. Well, the runs charged to Hellickson, but 2 of them unearned, so he leaves the game with 3 earned runs. Slowly rolled and flipped to first base to get Sierra, but the Marlins put 3 runs on the board. Open it up. They lead this one by a handful in Miami.
6th inning. Let's go ahead and get you the Toyota trend. That's the Hall of Fame breakdown. 323 members, 54. We had some good conversation about that. 54 first ballot Hall of Famers. The largest class came in 2008. 15 would enter in 08. I guess the one that probably catches me the most is the executives, 35 of them.
Yeah, you could probably make a case there should be even more.
Right.
And there are a lot of non-uniform personnel, I suppose you could say, have certainly left a lasting impression on this game through the years.
Well, and I think it's an interesting conversation, maybe not for right now, but probably 20 years or so from now, because the game has changed in such a, well, it's fair to say, an executive sort of way, if you know what I mean. You know, the putting together of the product, the teams on the field, the idea of organizational philosophy, and how teams want to do it. I mean, it's really changed over the last 5 or 6 years. Hard for me not to believe that we aren't going to be talking about a few individuals, say 20 or 30 years from now.
Yeah. Well, one guy is going to be inducted based solely on 2 years. Theo Epstein.
Right.
Right. I mean, having ended an 86-year curse in Boston and having his fingerprints all over that 04 championship team, and what he was able to do to end a 108-year drought with the Chicago Cubs. In the dirt to Trey Turner. Turner, Harper, Adams due up against Urania, who had a lengthy layoff, but I'm sure he'll take it. 3 runs on the board, and now a 5-0 lead to work with in the 6th.
No. Angel, what do you got?
Lifted out to left. It will be Dietrich for the first out.
It's easy to beat the heat when you become an energy-saving expert. Go to FPL.com/beattheheat.
One away for Bryce Harper. I happen to think that, Holly, you're a very nice guy.
Thank you.
Very nice guy. But there is a caveat to that.
Oh, right.
You are not the nicest.
You're setting me up for something.
Right. Not the nicest guy in baseball. You know who that is?
Who's that?
Jim Thome.
Oh, that's true.
Right. I think he
Or
actually,
Sean Casey.
Oddly enough, a few years ago.
Where are you going with this?
Of course, Jim Thome being inducted into the Hall of Fame today. Years ago, there was an award or a vote or whatever it was. Thome was 1, Casey was 2.
You may give you a story?
Absolutely.
Now, so Jim Thome and I, another great swing. You're absolutely right. So this is a great story to your point, and I'm glad you kind of set it up the way that you did. Spent nearly almost 11 of my 12 years in the National League. Now, Thome, obviously most of his years in the American League. Jim Thome, 2003, was playing for the Philadelphia Phillies. I was a new Marlin. Opening day, we're playing against the Philadelphia Phillies.
Okay.
Right here, South Florida. Go to breakfast, Pancake House in Aventura. Jim Thome happens to be there. I believe he was with his dad, maybe a couple brothers, I believe. I didn't know he was there, honestly. Marce and I we were finishing up our breakfast. We go get, ready to leave, bring us the bill. It's already been paid for.
Wow.
I had never met Jim Thome before. How about that?
That is fascinating. That's what everybody says about him, and I can certainly agree with that, having known him crossing paths at MLB Network before coming down here. A 276 career hitter with 612 home runs. Hard to argue with that.
Bought me breakfast, not me buying him breakfast, bought me and my beautiful wife breakfast. I mean, are you kidding me? And my young son, it was unbelievable. Ty was just a baby at the time. And we were taken aback, because it was like, I just didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
She was like, that gentleman over in the corner paid for it. I'm like, where? The big guy over in the corner. Oh, Jim Thome? Oh, my goodness. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. He is now also an analyst with MLB Network, where I used to call home, and I found out that I had gotten this job in late January, so it was only a couple of weeks after he found out he was going to the Hall of Fame. So I, of course, congratulated him, and I said, you know, I got some good news of my own. He was more happy that I got this job than I was for him that he got in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
After the strikeout of Harper, 2-1 pitch is fouled away by Matt Adams.
Well, Harper has now K'd in 16 straight ball games. Longest stretch of his career.
But he did get tightened up by Juice. Balls and 2 strikes. Right back to Urania with the flip to first. And Jose is through 6 scoreless innings, a 5-0 lead. It's Tutti Frutti, the clown that's here on Sundays for Kids Day. He was working hard when the Marlins had Family Day a few weeks back. Boy, he was really busting his tail with the balloon animals. Cricket gives us something to smile about. So does Tutti Frutti on a Sunday afternoon at the ballpark. 3:05 day here at Marlins Park. 5-0 Marlins on top as Cameron Maybin swings at the first pitch. Pinch hitting here in the 6th, and a fly ball out to Harper for out number 1. So as he pinch hits, that officially puts an end to the day of Jose Urania. 96 pitches, 55 for strikes, and 6 scoreless innings. 1 hit against this Nationals lineup. I'm sure Don Mattingly has got to be happy with the efforts today from Urania. A quality start and in terrific position right now for his first home win since last September 20th against the New York Mets. Here's Dietrich. It's a called strike. Adam Conley up. Soto and Murphy will be the 2 lefties to lead things off in the top of the 7th inning. We heard from Adam Conley before the game. Joined Tommy and Greg on the Marlins Live pregame show as Dietrich is retired. He went into terrific depth about how he's been able to be effective out of the bullpen. Just knowing that he's only going to face guys once, really go at him. He did say one thing that he's trying to do is settle in and get all the ins and outs now of being a reliever, because sometimes he'll come in the 5th or the 6th or the 7th or the 9th or the 12th or whatever. So, but he's certainly been effective this year for the Marlins.
That's one thing that I've heard from guys who have transitioned from the starter's role to the bullpen, just speeding up of the game. Like that right there. 5-pitch innings. Does that speed up the game for you there, pal? Wrapped it. All right.
T-Mobile, built for baseball. One of the 6 men being inducted into the Hall of Fame today, Chipper Jones. Definitely built for baseball. Built for Atlanta, a top overall pick. One of the best switch hitters in the game, of course, growing up. His dad was a big Mickey Mantle fan, and not only in Cooperstown with Mick forever, but also in that conversation along with Mickey Mantle, Eddie Murray, some of the best switch hitters of all time.
I got to play with him for a short period of time, about a month's worth, and everything that you would think. I mean, one of the best switch hitters that you have ever seen. I'll tell you what, could do it all from both sides of the plate, and I think that's kind of, for me, what really defined him. Usually most guys, or at least throughout my career, really good left-handed hitter, pull, for power. The right side might hit for a little bit more average. He kind of was both. Now, on the right-handed side, the power came along a little bit later in his career. But, man, oh, man, played every day, consistent. He was the face of the franchise through a dominant period in their team history.
Absolutely. Let's check in with Kelly Sacco.
Thanks, Paul. Well, Martin Prado also had the chance to spend some time with Chipper Jones, 7 seasons to be exact, alongside him as a Brave. And I spoke to Martin earlier. He said he's great friends with Chipper both on and off the field. He actually gave him a call yesterday to congratulate him on being inducted to the Hall of Fame. Said he wished he could be there, but of course he has his obligations here as he continues his career. But what Martin said he did most as being teammates with Chipper Jones was try to ask him questions. He said he had so much to learn from him. He just needed to listen and try to soak in as much as he can from Chipper Jones.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Kelly, great stuff. I think that you said it best, Holly. That run, and Soto grounds one to Rojas, who makes the play. That run was arguably defined by the pitching. The Smoltz, the Glavine, the Maddox era of the Braves. But, I mean, he was the guy offensively.
Yeah, he was the face. He was the face of the
that
franchise when you talk about the offensive side of things. And again, there were a lot of different, players that came along, the Ryan Kleskos of the world that, kind of blended in and certainly were a big part of that. I think of Lemke, and, it was a long, long run. But through it all, he was the guy that was out in front on the offensive side. Fred McGriff. We could do this all day long.
Yeah, I mean, they had different guys kind of move in and out over that. What, they went 14 in a row?
Right, I think it was 13, right.
13, 14. They, they moved different pieces in and out on the offensive side of things, but he was the steadying force. I mentioned all the great switch hitters. I think I left out Pete Rose, who had a hit or two, or 4,256. We had the most hits among switch hitters, but it showed you the 468 home runs for Chipper Jones. Only Eddie Murray with 504 and Mickey Mantle with 536. Most home runs among switch hitters. So congratulations to Chipper and the rest of the class going in today as Justin Miller loosens in the Nationals pen.
And I think back to, I believe Chipper Jones's rookie season was 95, and he put up just absolutely just incredible numbers, and you'd think that, oh, okay, well, that, you know, he would have won the National League Rookie of the Year award that year. If I remember correctly, he had 20 homers and it was 88 RBIs as a rookie. Went up against Hideo Nomo, and Hideo Nomo had, well, my goodness, the tornado got it done. He had a fantastic season, but again, those two went head to head, and you know, and I remember that. Obviously, I was with Nomo at the time.
This will be Maben in left field, and Murphy is retired. Second out here in the 7th. Show your Dominican pride as the Marlins celebrate Dominican Heritage Night on Saturday, August 11th. Catch Castro, Urena, and Alcantara as the Marlins take on the Mets at 7:10. Receive an exclusive Dominican Heritage jersey with the purchase of a ticket package. Visit marlins.com/Dominican to get your tickets today.
Nice changeup by Adam Conley. Last one on Chipper. 247 career games against the Marlins. 297, 40 homers, 166 RBIs. I'd be willing to bet that if you were to kind of, you know, take that out or that frame or those averages and apply it to just about every organization, you'd see a similar, you know, kind of trend. Close to 300, 20, 30, 40 homers, and close to, you know, 100, 200 RBIs.
He did crush the Mets, though. So much so that he named one of his kids Shea, right? After Shea Stadium.
Yes, he did.
Really liked playing there.
And I do remember the smile on his face. And he always had that, you know, that big smile, right? He was certainly known for it. But when we went to New York, it was a little bit bigger. Like, yeah, my second home.
It's showtime. Oh, how about the inning from Conley? Sets the Nationals down 1-2-3.
Come in and get batters out.
It's very valuable. You can't win without it.
Relief pitchers are the unsung heroes.
You go out there to throw one inning, failure is amplified a little more than it is, you know, when you go out there and have success.
Overpowering speed.
This is the gift that God gave it to me. The first check they got was for how hard they throw. Every check after that is where they throw it.
unhittable in June.
97, I'm feeling good today.
I take great pride in it, in going out there every day and passing the torch to the next guy. And
the closer must bring attitude to the mound.
And some people can use anger and fire, and I do like to flirt with that line. I like to tell myself controlled violence.
The Marlins bullpen is heating up as we make the call to the pen.
That is coming up today after the post-game show. Looking forward to that. A big part of that bullpen is Brad Ziegler, who is loosening in the pen as we speak. Coming up after our Marlins Live post-game show. Newest edition of Inside the Marlins. Speaking of bullpens, Justin Miller in out of the Nationals bullpen, 28th game for him. Opponent's hitting a little over 200. Face JT Realmuto, Justin Bour, and Martin Prado.
All right, Paul, I've been busy. You know what I like to do with these numbers, right? So I mentioned that Chipper would probably have identical numbers, you know, if we looked at, you know, a bunch of other teams. All right, so here's Chipper's numbers against the Nationals in his career. 265 games, 247 against the Marlins. So exact same, almost the exact same number. So 299 against the Nats, 297 against the Marlins, 40 homers versus the Marlins, 41 homers against the Nationals, 166 RBIs to 161.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty identical.
Wow. I mean, honestly, unbelievable, really, when you think about it. How about that consistency?
Speaking of, JT Realmuto digs in. Takes a called strike at the bottom of the zone. Marlins with a 5-0 lead. Single runs in the second and third. 3 runs in the bottom of the fifth. Realmuto scored one of those 3 runs. Well down the right field line, but that one will slice into the seats. The offense has done its part. 5 runs, 9 hits. The pitching staff, led by Urania today, has pulled its weight today. 1 hit allowed in the first 7 innings against the Nationals.
That was a 2-strike Harper infield single to a, well, I should say against an overshift.
Yep.
He's got the only hit for the Nats through 7 innings.
To the best of my knowledge, these are the same Nationals that had 15 hits on Thursday 16 hits on Friday. Last night held to just 5. Today 1. Right back toward us. 0-2.
That's right, you got to be ready to catch it.
Were you talking to me or
no,
the fans?
I was talking to the guys
us?
below us. They were all like, I mean, that foul ball woke them up.
That one out to left field, and Soto makes the catch. Step 2 in front of the track for the first out in the 7th.
Hey, the guys below us enjoying the game. They started pushing on each other like, why didn't you catch that? And like, none of you were ready. You were all looking down at your phones, for crying out loud. Put the phone down. Enjoy the ball game. I don't think either any of them saw it coming until the ball hit.
Yep.
Here we are, just below us, the gentleman right below us.
They're still pointing fingers as to who should have caught it.
That's right, woken up by that foul ball.
I'll tell you what, one of my big fears, I have a few of them, crocodiles, heights, water, and bugs, is a foul ball that comes into the booth. Of course, naturally, in my mind, I botch it because that's kind of how I'm wired. But to have the laptop just get blown to smithereens, we can't have that. It happened to Roger Hoover, minor leagues, and it happened to Dave Sims a couple of days ago too. I heard the fine television / radio voice of the Seattle Mariners.
You gotta stay on your toes.
You do. You gotta protect the laptop. It's the brains of the operation.
You can do every game from here on out with your glove on if you'd like. No?
I don't know.
I promise I won't make fun.
Did just buy a new glove.
That's right, you did, didn't you?
I did.
You bring it in, we break it in.
Nothing in 2 to Justin Bohr. A couple of flyouts and a strikeout today for JB. Pops this one up to Reynolds right around the shortstop portion of the infield. He'll make the play. 2 away. Martin Prado with 2 hits. Brian Anderson, another multi-hit game. A couple of knocks for Miguel Rojas. Total of 9 today for the Marlins. Two RBIs today for the man who's in the box right now, Martin Prado. Seven multi-hit games in his last 14 starts. Improving the season numbers against the Nationals up to 429 with the 2 for 3 performance to this point today.
Hitting .330 in the month of July with 10 RBIs. Came into the month with only 3.
Ground to Reynolds, gobbles it up, throws across the diamond for the final out in the 7th. This moves to the 8th with the Marlins up 5-0.
We the best. We just getting started. Another one. We just getting started. Let's win. We just getting started. Looking at my rear view, ain't nobody in my way. Hands up. Let's go. We the best. Everybody. We just getting started.
Hey, A 5-0 lead today for the Marlins, hoping to finish this one off, get a split of this 4-game set against the Washington Nationals. Some changes. Yadiel Rivera into the ball game at second base, and Miguel Rojas moves a few feet over to his left to play first, and Brad Ziegler in out of the pen for the Marlins, his 53rd game. And a strike to Spencer Kieboom.
I think Zig is probably fresh today after yesterday's efforts. For a grand total of 1 pitch.
Worked his tail off.
If I remember correctly, we came back. He came in to kind of clean up a little bit of a mess, did he not?
He did.
Comes in, made 1 pitch. I think you were saying, you know, I mean, he got like 5 seconds of airtime yesterday, is what I'm getting at.
And he makes.
It was about that fast, right there.
Quick work of Kieboom for the first out here in the 8th. We check in with Craig.
Well, Brad Ziegler knows he's been tossed around in the trade rumors, but he loves the 305.
And I'm really happy here. Like the way the season's turned out has been a lot better, I think, than a lot of people anticipated. So I think they're growing something good here, and it's nice to be part of the beginning of that. And if they want me here the rest of the year, I'm happy to do it.
Ziegler's had 25 out of 27 scoreless outings. He's one of those guys, the veteran reliever, contract up. That'd be a perfect fit for a team going for the pennant. But you heard him say it here, he really enjoys Miami, and if he winds up staying here with the Marlins, he'd love that too. He's been a big factor for the Marlins, especially the last couple of months.
Absolutely has. He has settled into this new role, and even it was the save situations and the non-save situations that kind of led to the bloated ERA. I mean, he was what, 9 for 10, I believe it was, in save situations, but it was when he would come in and get some work, or games would maybe get out of hand one way or the other, that things kind of got away. But you know, for as maybe frustrating at the time as that was, it has been anything but frustrating since.
Oh, he's been absolutely lights out in his new role, and I think that's it's a pat on the back. Ziegler, I mean, he's embraced it. Not only, you know, obviously a difference, and I suppose you could look at it in some ways as a demotion. I don't necessarily think that's the right way to put it. The point is this: he worked at his craft and he got better at it. All of a sudden, his slider's back, his changeup's working again, the ball's down. I mean, when he was closing, he was getting about 2 ground balls, you know, per inning pitched. Now he's at 4. I mean, he's in a position now where almost all the action off the bat is not hit very hard. He's picking up strikeouts left and right, and he's dominating.
I mean, terrific job staying off the barrel.
I'll be honest. I mean, I'll go all the way back to last year. Ziegler wasn't this good last year. This is the best the Marlins have seen him has been over the last month or so, last couple of months. I mean, look, you're watching hitters. They have no idea. And we talk about, you know, no velocity.
2 runs allowed in his last 27 innings coming into this outing, in which he has struck out the first 2 batters faced. He's up 0-2 on Eaton.
10 pitches in, by the way.
Nothing in 2 to Eaton. One misses outside, of all the 2 strikes. Marlins pitchers have struck out 8 Nats today. 5 for Urania, 1 for Conley, who worked the 7th, and 2 so far for Ziegler here in the 8th. Two pitch. Lifted out to center field and sends Sierra back a few steps. He'll make the play. A 1-2-3 inning for Ziegler to the last of the 8th.
Bottom 8, MLB At Bat is your #1 app for Marlins baseball. Customize your experience to catch every moment this season. Marlins home screen icons and features such as MLB.tv, Game of the Day, live radio broadcasts, in-game highlights, stats, news, and more. Download MLB At Bat today.
Fourth pitcher of the afternoon for the Nationals as Sammy Solis takes over. 45th game for him. Breaks a tie for the lead in appearances. Brandon Kinsler. Face JT Riddle and then Miguel Rojas and Sierra here in the 8th inning. Fouled away quickly. 0-2. Riddle reached on an error in the 5th inning that extended the inning and allowed a run to score. Marlins added 1 after that, part of that 3-run frame. And a couple of hops to Murphy. 1 down. Coming up after WB Mason Marlins Live post-game show, inside the Marlins call to the pen. Get an in-depth look. Guys like Steckenrider and Bearclaw and Conley and Ziegler, the whole crew down there. Kelly Sacco with some inside access with those guys. I think we heard in the promo the guys that, you know, kind of the unsung heroes of a team. And this time of year, every year, you know, sometimes you see the big bat traded or sometimes you see the big starting pitcher traded, but you always see bullpen arms on the move this time of year. It is every year this time a highly sought after position. Every team that's in the mix wants to fortify their bullpen.
Right. You ever heard a team that's, you know, in it, well, even around the conversation, nah, bullpen's good.
Even the Yankees, for crying out loud.
Got it covered. We got 8 guys down there. We got more than enough. We're good. We don't need any more bullpen arms. Now, you never hear that, ever.
No, you don't. That's what I'm saying. Coming into this season, you could have made the case that the Yankees had the most stacked bullpen that anybody's ever seen. A week ago, they traded for Zach Britton, right?
Cannot have enough.
Rojas out to center. Harper comes in to make the play. 2 away.
Oh, you even hear the phrase now, which has been new over the last couple of years. You hear the executives use the word stashing. They're stashing arms at AAA. I've heard that again, you know, this trade season. I'm like, to the point where you're like, all right, we got to pick up a couple of guys and put them in AAA and make them wait, just in case we need them.
Yeah. Strike 2, Sierra. Slapped a hit to the left side of the infield back in the 2nd inning. Took that one at the plate. 0-2. So Steckenrider up in the pen. Turner, Harper, and Adams due up for the Nationals. Chases that one. Kieboom throws down to first base to complete the strikeout. And the finale of this 4-game set heads to the 9th with the Marlins up 5-0. 5-0 lead. They have surrendered 1 hit in this ball game. However, in Atlanta, that's 1 more than the Braves have given up. Here's Dansby Swanson into shallow center field and makes the over-the-shoulder play. That is the Bonefish Grill fresh catch of the day. And Sean Newcomb, who got the start today for the Braves, 7 hitless innings, a walk and 7 strikeouts. He is at 100 pitches. So certainly something to follow. We head to Atlanta, and thankfully we won't see Newcomb.
Well, that's fresh catch of the day worthy. I mean, no
Absolutely.
doubt about it. I mean, especially since it's playing into the no-no.
It is. That's the Sean Newcomb that the Marlins have seen this year. 18 innings, 2 earned runs. Trey Turner to lead things off against Drew Steckenrider. Strike on the inside corner.
I'll tell you as well, Swanson has been a pretty good ball player for the Braves defensively. A mighty fine catch.
On a hop to Riddle. It's the play on the run, and there is 1 away. Mention the trip to Atlanta at the conclusion of this one. On the plane a little north to SunTrust Park, Wei-Yin Chen and Julio Teheran, the 2 starting pitchers in that one. One thing that I know we'll talk about tomorrow, the home road splits of Chen.
Well, I think this is a very intriguing matchup. I mean, Teheran, the Marlins have absolutely knocked him around his last 2 starts against the Marlins. Now, for Chen, you're right. I'm going to go downstairs after the game and slip his white home jersey into his travel bag. Tell him to wear that underneath your uniform tomorrow.
Right. Ball upstairs to Bryce Harper.
Well, I'll tell you, you can almost split this 4-game series right down the middle when it comes to the number of base runners. The Nationals had, through the first 2 games, 45 of them. We were talking left on base. We're talking runs per game. I mean, it was all about everything. Well, since late Friday night, and we played 2 more games here, Saturday and Sunday, only 15 base runners combined. Marlins 2 outs away from a shutout in a series split.
And Harper draws the 1-out walk here in the 9th inning. That'll bring up Matt Adams. Part of what you were talking about, right, with how the base runners and everything else. I mean, the early part was that there were a lot of walks, and throughout the last X number of games against the Nationals, really going back to Washington D.C. So basically, the last 8 games, been a ton of walks. Today, that's the first walk for the Nationals against the Marlins bullpen.
Well, and that's certainly part of the story. I mean, coming into today, I put it in my notes. I guess I'm just not getting to it. Yesterday's efforts from the bullpen, outstanding. And we talked about kind of flipping the script. Good fastball by Steckenrider. 9 games before yesterday. The Marlins bullpen ERA was 12.89 against the Nationals. The batting average against 3.76. Well, what did the bullpen do yesterday? I know that the game ended up tied in the 9th, and it ended up being a walk-off win and extra. Point is this: 4 2/3, 1 run, 1 walk. That's what you need to see. I mean, that's manageable. You can hang, kind of in that territory. When you're got a 12.89 ERA, you're not going to survive that from your bullpen. That's just not going to happen. 50 hits in 29 innings yesterday. Much better today. Much better.
Nothing in 2 to Adams. Pokes one out to left field. The 2nd hit of the afternoon for the Nationals, who have 2 on and 1 out here in the 9th inning. Time for the Florida Lottery in-game jackpot. How have the Marlins fared against Hall of Famers? Well, they've got a 289 average, 165 home runs. The pitchers pitching to a 308 ERA. A little more than 7.5 strikeouts per 9. You mentioned Chipper Jones leading the charge with 40 of the home runs among Hall of Famers against the Marlins. And Hoffman with 32 of the saves. Here's Juan Soto. Ball low and away. For Soto today, a fly ball. He reached on a walk and grounded out. He's also caught stealing. Nearly identical pitch. It's 1-1. Daniel Murphy waits on deck. Balls in a strike with Harper on at second, Adams on at first. Here comes from Steckenrider. This is upstairs, 3-1. Greg Minerini, Tommy Hutton getting set for the WB Mason Marlins Live post-game show. There you go. It's a look behind the curtain, folks. That's how it happens. Magic.
I didn't know that.
And you call yourself a TV professional.
I just show up here and every day. Talk baseball. That's we get paid to do this?
Don't tell anybody.
I learn something new behind the scenes every day.
Yeah.
Why would I know? Did you know how that got there? You didn't know.
I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes. Payoff pitch to Soto. Swung on and missed for strike 3. A big second out here in the 9th inning. Revved up 95 to beat the youngster.
Well, just enough away and just enough, well, I'll say up. He hits in that crouch a little bit and ends up just below the letters. Well done by Steck. He's got good numbers against the Nats in his career. This is the 11th game, .90 ERA. Pitched a clean inning yesterday. Certainly don't want to see a big inning here in the 9th.
Murphy 0 for 2 today, walked in the 2nd inning. 0-1. Marlins a strike away from evening up this 4-game series against the Nationals. A series that began with a 10-3 loss and then a 9-1 loss. A walk-off win yesterday. Hoping for a shutout here today as Murphy with the check swing stays alive. Steckenrider can lock it down. Jose Urena will get his first home win since September 20th last year. Comes the 0-2 pitch. Chase. 1-2 pitch is lined into the glove of Yadiel Rivera. And it's a Marlins win, 5-0 as they shut out the Washington Nationals. Hold them to 2 hits this afternoon, and Jose Urena is a winner at home for the first time since last September. So the Marlins continue to play well at home. They have won or split the last 6 home series, and they have won 11 of 18 here at Marlins Park. Urena got the start. The Coors Light refreshing finish. The bullpen. Adam Conley worked the 7th. Ziegler worked the 8th. Steckenrider the 9th. Terrific formula to get the victory here today.
Well, how about this? A combined 7 2/3 innings in the 2 wins, 1 run. That's it. 5 strikeouts to go along with it. Only 3 hits allowed. And oh, by the way, only a couple of walks. So really turning that story around. Great job by the bullpen. Nice win here this afternoon on getaway day.
Don Mattingly and the Marlins certainly have to like this one. Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By Lincoln. Join the Lincoln Summer Invitation Sales Event. And by your South Florida Honda dealers. Marlins drop the first 2, win the last 2, and split the 4-game set with the Nats before embarking on a road trip to Atlanta. The Marlins Live post-game show coming up after the break.